Love is often praised as the medicine that heals all wounds, as if loving enough could redeem every mistake. But the truth is not that sweet. There are wounds that never heal, not because they were born from clumsiness, but because they were born from intention. There are actions that, if you forgive them, you are not being compassionate. You are burying your own self-respect. People say, true love can overcome anything. But have you ever asked yourself if what you're overcoming is betrayal, manipulation, or emotional abuse? Is that still love? In this video, we'll talk about the things you should never forgive a woman for in a relationship, and more importantly, why. Not to condemn women, but to help you recognize the thin line between love and self-destruction. Because sometimes forgiveness is not noble. It is the quiet way you allow someone to keep hurting you. And at some point, you must learn to forgive yourself for enduring too long. There are conversations no one wants to start, especially when they are about love. We grow up surrounded by sweet tales telling us that love can conquer all, that with enough compassion, every wound can be healed. But one day we realize some wounds do not heal because they weren't accidents. They were repeated choices. Society glorifies forgiveness as a virtue, portraying it as proof of great love. But what no one teaches us is that forgiveness is not always a noble act. Sometimes, forgiveness is surrender. The moment we abandon our right to be respected, the moment we trade our own worth for the illusion of love. Forgiveness without change is self-destruction. In relationships, there are behaviors that go beyond the boundaries of morality. They break the very foundation of trust and dignity. When someone lies, humiliates, manipulates, or hurts you again and again, and you stay, and you forgive, you are sending a silent message. You can do this to me, and I will still tell here. From that moment, love ceases to be love. It becomes emotional dependency, a game between the controller and the controlled. Most of us have fallen into that spiral. We believe forgiveness will preserve love, but in truth, we are trying to resuscitate something that has already died by killing ourselves little by little. We stay because we think everyone makes mistakes, because we fear loneliness, because we hope they will change. But true love does not need pain to exist. If someone constantly makes you doubt your worth, if they make you live in fear, exhaustion, and self-doubt, that is not love. That is organized destruction. Forgiveness only has meaning when it comes with change, with genuine effort from both sides. Otherwise, forgiveness is just another cycle of suffering. Love is not an altar for sacrifice. It is a space where two souls grow and heal together. When forgiveness becomes the reason someone can keep hurting you, it is no longer a virtue. It is a chain. And perhaps the hardest truth of all is this: you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. That sometimes walking away is not abandoning love, it is saving your soul. True love doesn't need perfection, but it does need honesty. Because once truth is distorted, everything else, promises, trust, the future, becomes as fragile as glass. Systematic deception, a single small lie, doesn't destroy love. But a person who becomes accustomed to lying, that's different. It begins with small things, the price of a gift, where they've been, or why they came home late. You think, it's just a little thing. But every time you stay silent, it becomes another brick in the wall between you. Until one day, you realize you're living in a world where only they hold the key to truth. People say, the first lie you forgive is an invitation to the second. When someone treats deceiving you as normal, it means they've already decided that your inner world doesn't matter. And in that moment, love dies, quietly, without a single argument. Public humiliation disguised as humor. They tell a story that makes others laugh while you stand frozen. Don't be so serious, I was just joking. But within every laugh hides a small dagger, piercing your self-respect. They mock your appearance, your voice, even your dreams, and each time, you shrink a little smaller, grow a little quieter. Public humiliation is not a joke. It is one of the most subtle forms of domination. When they make others laugh at you, they are asserting power. And when you react, they twist it back on you. You're too sensitive. No, you're not sensitive. You're awake. Because real love never turns the person it loves into a punchline. Emotional manipulation and blackmail. If you love me, you'll do this. I'm only crying because of you. You want to leave me? I'd rather die. These aren't expressions of amor, they're weapons. A manipulator knows exactly how to exploit your compassion. They turn your kindness into a leash, your love into a weapon against yourself. Every time you give in, they gain more control, until you no longer know where love ends and fear begins. Someone who truly loves you will never make you responsible for their pain. They will never use tears as chains. And within these three behaviors, deceit, humiliation, and manipulation, lies one common truth. They all blur the line between love and harm. Once these patterns appear, love stops being a sanctuary. It becomes a battlefield of control. And if you find yourself justifying your pain, finding reasons to stay, remember, when love makes you lose yourself, it is no longer love. It is captivity. It's violating personal boundaries in the name of care. I just want to know where you are. If you have nothing to hide, why can't I check your phone? These words sound harmless, but they open the first door to control. Once someone crosses your personal boundaries, reads your messages, checks your accounts, interferes with your private life, they are sending you a message. I don't trust you, and I have the right to watch you. Don't mistake this for love. Love is built on trust. Control is built on fear. And when love is built on fear, it slowly turns you into a prisoner within your own relationship. Because when your privacy disappears, so does your selfhood, your autonomy, your identity, your very sense of you. Physical violence, when love becomes a weapon. Slip away. A shove. A fist pounding on the table, even once, is never a small mistake. It is a sign that love has transformed into power. Abusers always have reasons. I just lost control. You made me so angry. But remember, they choose where to lose control. They don't hit their boss. They don't smash things at work. They only do it to you because they believe you'll stay. Violence is never an accident. It is a choice. And every time you forgive it, you are teaching them that violence can be accepted. But true love doesn't need blood, tears, or fear to exist. If someone makes you afraid of them, that's not the person you love. That's the person you need to leave. Financial control and exploitation. The invisible prison. Not everyone recognizes financial abuse. It's quiet. It leaves no bruises. But it binds tighter than any chain. When someone begins deciding how you spend, demands access to your accounts, or pressures you to quit your job, they are cutting through the very threads of your freedom. Money isn't just numbers. It is choice. It is escape. It is the door you can walk through when you are hurt. That's why those who want to control you most will always start with your wallet. When someone makes you depend on them to live, they can make you accept anything, even humiliation. These three acts, invasion, violence, and financial control, are 3 layers of the same hell. Once you step inside, you begin to lose everything: privacy, safety, and eventually yourself. And if someone tells you, "I do it because I love you," remember, love never needs power to survive. There are wounds that don't bleed, yet make the soul bleed for a lifetime. The final acts on this list are the deepest cuts of all. They don't just betray trust, they destroy your very ability to love again. Infidelity, the deliberate betrayal. Betrayal doesn't accidentally happen. No one accidentally texts, "I'm Every message, every meeting, every lie is a conscious choice. The unfaithful don't just break a promise, they shatter the foundation of trust. They don't just betray you, they betray the version of you who once believed they were loved. When they say, "It was only once," remember, once is enough to kill trust forever. Infidelity isn't just an act, it's a declaration that their pleasure matters more than your pain. And when that happens, there is no longer a we. There is only them and you, standing on opposite sides of a ravine. Weaponizing your pain. When love turns into war. You once told them about your fears, your scarred childhood, your sleepless nights. You believed that in their arms you were safe. But one day, in anger, they hurl those wounds back at you. No wonder everyone leaves you. I should have known. You've always been this weak. When someone turns your pain into ammunition, they don't just insult you, they murder trust itself. From that moment, you learn to be silent, to hide, to shrink into your shell. They don't just make you fear them, they make you fear of. The one who loves you will guard your wounds as treasures. The one who seeks to control you will use them as weapons. The cycle of abuse, love, and destruction. This is the most common and the most merciless tragedy. They hurt you. They shout at you. They humiliate you. Then the next day, they apologize. They bring flowers, make promises, kneel at your feet. And you believe them, because you want to believe that love can still save them. But the truth is, they don't change. They only reset the trap. Each cycle becomes worse than the one before. The sweet moments grow shorter, while the pain lingers longer. You begin to live addicted to emotion, addicted to hope, to their rare tenderness, to that fleeting rush of being loved after the storm. True love doesn't require recovery from pain. Only toxic love demands healing just to keep going. Infidelity, weaponized pain, and the cycle of abuse, these are the peaks of cruelty in love. They don't just make you lose faith in others, they make you doubt yourself. And that is the deepest reason why these things should never be forgiven. Why we stay. If these behaviors are so clearly wrong, if the pain is so undeniable, then why do we stay? Why does someone intelligent, strong, aware of their suffering, still choose to remain in the place that slowly kills their soul? The answer is not simple. People don't stay because they're foolish. They stay because the heart is wired for hope. We don't want to believe that the person we love could be the one who breaks us. We hold on to the version of them we first met, the one who was gentle, who made promises, who made us believe they were the right one. And when they start to change, we whisper to ourselves, "They're just tired. Things will be different." But the truth is, hope itself becomes the chain. The illusion that love conquers all. From childhood, we are taught that love is magic, that if we love enough, we can change people, heal wounds, turn cruelty into kindness. But no one tells us this. Love cannot change someone who does not want to change. You can love them with every part of your being, but if they refuse to face themselves, your love is only a candle burning in the wind, bright for a moment, then gone. The fear of loneliness. Loneliness is a darkness so many would rather endure pain than face. We fear the empty room, the silent dinners, the nights without a message. We stay with those who hurt us, because at least there's still a voice to cling to. But we forget, there is a kind of loneliness far worse, the loneliness that lives within a relationship. Blind faith that they will change. Each apology, each bouquet, each promise is like a dose of temporary painkiller. We want to believe this time will be different. But apologies are not transformation, and tears are not remorse. Someone who truly wants to change does not ask you to keep suffering to prove it. The normalization of toxicity. When we grow up surrounded by broken models, parents who fight, friends who are controlled, movies that romanticize jealousy, we begin to think that suffering is just part of love. But normal does not mean right. Common does not mean acceptable. Sometimes the reason it hurts so much is not because they are too cruel, but because we have been familiar with pain for too long. And in the end, we stay, because we fear that if we leave, we will lose them. But the truth is, we already lost ourselves long ago. Only when we dare to face the fear of being alone do we find our true self again, our freedom, our dignity, our peace. Love is not endurance. Staying in pain is not strength, it is self-forgetting. So, what does true love really look like? After all the heartbreak, we often ask ourselves, is there still a kind of love that doesn't hurt? The answer is yes. But to recognize it, we must learn to see love not through the fear of losing someone, but through the respect we hold for ourselves. True love doesn't make you smaller. It helps you grow. In a healthy relationship, you are free to be yourself. You don't have to tiptoe around your words. You don't have to guess whether they're happy or angry today. You don't have to live with the fear of being abandoned. True love expands who you are. It doesn't shrink you out of fear. The one who truly loves you will never need you to become less, just so they can feel more. When you're with the right person, you don't need to be perfect. You only need to be real. And that very authenticity becomes the thread that keeps love alive. True love has boundaries, not control. Boundaries are the language of respect. When two people can say no to each other without fear of losing one another, that's when love has matured. Boundaries are not walls. They are the frame that keeps love standing strong. You have your own space, and so do they. You have friends, passions, dreams, and they don't feel threatened by them. True love gives you the freedom within commitment and the safety within freedom. True love is companionship, not salvation. No one can heal another person. Someone who truly loves you will hold your hand through the pain, not try to fix you to fit their ideal. They listen when you speak, not to argue, but to understand. They don't turn you into a project to be improved. They see the beauty even in your cracks. True love doesn't come to complete you. It comes to grow with you. True love communicates. It doesn't make you guess. A real partner says, "I'm hurt because of this," instead of punishing you with silence. They ask, "What do you need from me?" instead of demanding, "Why don't you understand me?" In true love, language is not a weapon. It is a bridge. Because when two people learn to listen rather than compete, love becomes a harmonious symphony, not a battlefield of egos. True love feels safe, not safe because there's no conflict, but because you know that harm will never be done with intention. It's a place where you can set down your armor, remove your masks, and finally breathe. Not because you're escaping, but because you're home in yourself. True love isn't loud. It doesn't demand proof or drama. It doesn't make your heart tighten in anxiety. It makes it open in peace. And if you've walked away from a toxic love, remember this. True love is not a reward. It is what you deserve when you finally find the courage to stop accepting anything less. Liberation. Learning to love yourself, or there comes a moment in every life, a crossroads where you must choose to stay within familiar pain or to step out and rediscover yourself. And it is in that moment that freedom begins. When you decide to leave a toxic relationship, you are not merely walking away from another person. You are walking away from the version of yourself that once believed you didn't deserve better. You are choosing the greatest form of love a human being can give themselves, self-respect. Leaving is not failure. It is a beginning. Society teaches us that leaving means weakness, that walking away is giving up. But leaving the place that breaks you is not defeat. It is the bravest act the heart can perform. Because to leave, you must overcome the addiction called hope. You must accept the truth that the person you love may not be the person you need. You don't leave because you stop loving them. You leave because you start loving yourself more. When you leave, you reclaim your life. Mornings no longer begin with fear of an unexpected rage. Evenings no longer demand a forced smile to keep the peace. No more anxious checking of your phone. No more tightening of the chest at the sound of footsteps. You begin to remember the taste of peace, something that had been stolen from you for far too long. And then you realize the world is still beautiful. The sky is still blue. Your friends are still there. And you are still worthy of love. You had simply forgotten after living too long in the dark. Rebirth from the ruins, healing does not arrive overnight. It begins with small, tender steps. Learning to sleep again, learning to enjoy a meal, and most importantly, learning to hear your own voice once more. A voice once drowned in tears, now returning, stronger, clearer. You begin to rewrite your story, no longer the supporting character in someone else's world, but the main character in your own. Liberation is not the end. It is the first chapter of freedom. To love again. But this time, to love yourself. When you learn to love yourself, you no longer need anyone's approval. You stop accepting half-hearted love. You stop justifying pain. You understand, real love does not hurt, and it never asks you to prove your worth. And when love finds you again, if it ever does, you will welcome it not from emptiness, but from the fullness of your own soul. Freedom does not come from leaving someone. It comes from no longer abandoning yourself. So love yourself the way you once wished someone else would, with gentleness, honesty, and respect. You were not born to forgive the unforgivable. You were born to live, to love, and to be loved in the right way.